Okay, hello everybody. Welcome back to In Between the Lines of Anime. I have a very special guest on today. We have Kube of the Red Sea. Hi, how are you doing?
Hey, what's up? Hey, everyone. So, first of all, thanks for having me. So, Cupid Red Sea. For those who have never seen my face, this is how I look like.
Oh,
How
I
are you?
don't. Are you a faceless YouTuber? Like, you don't really take.
Honestly, it's just I usually do faceless, but for theories, but this is like more one and well,
Yes.
1 and 100 behind the screens. But
Yeah. No, it's just me and you, man. It's just me and you. We're just
yeah,
chilling,
yeah, okay. So it's cool. It's
talking
cool. So
about our
yeah,
favorite show.
yeah.
So
So
yeah,
I'm
what do you
Cube.
do? Like, do you make YouTube videos? Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, I'm part of a group called The Last Arc. So we're a bunch of, well, now Americans, but we're firstly Europeans who got together. So we were like, we all have our own expertise. I'm more like Fury, not really video editing. Some of them are more video editing and Furies. And so we came together. And so basically, to collab, basically our own Tequila Wolf, we're connecting the One Piece world together.
Yeah,
And
that's
so,
all we can do as fans of this crazy show.
exactly,
Um,
exactly.
so you said you were European? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I live in Belgium.
Wow. So do you speak another language?
Yeah, I speak French.
Ah,
So.
moi aussi, je parle français.
Voilà, parfait, parfait. So
On
yeah,
peut
most of
continuer
my
en anglais. So,
yeah,
um, one question I'll just start off with is
sure,
because you're
let's
reading a
go.
different language, or not because you're reading a different language, sorry, because you understand a different language, and is French
hmm
your native language? Like, is that your native tongue?
So yes and no. So basically, I speak more because my parents originally African, so my parents speak better English than French. But I learned French first. But English orally is my is the language is easier, but writing is French.
Okay, so then as somebody who has a preference towards French literature, when you're reading these things in English, do you find that the words can be very easily misconstrued? Like you don't fully understand the meaning that the character is saying.
Yes, it's more like, since, the One Piece French community is, I think, other than English speaking and the Japanese, obviously,
Mm.
is one of the largest in the world. And so it's like One Piece has been big since I've been reading One Piece 2002. Like it's been big since early 2000s. Like people have been glued to it. And there's always been like in translation, because the English language and the French language is very different, in which I would say for years people were getting upset because the wording of Luffy's fruit never matched with other devil fruit, because in French, the word devil and demon is written the same way, but the way you say it is different.
So how? So
So,
say it for us. Say the
so
difference.
Luffy's fruit in no, the devil fruit are called devil's fruit,
Okay.
but Luffy's fruit in French, which is a different word, it says the devil's fruit
Okay. So
as
what's
the
the
devil.
difference in French? Like, do you know the word that they use in
Yeah, yeah.
French?
In French, fruit des démons is devil fruit,
Mm-hmm.
and Luffy's was the beginning was fruit du diable.
Oh wow, that is a big difference. It's hard to
Yeah,
understand the difference in
at the
English.
beginning, only at the beginning, and then it went back to normal. But it was always very weird at that time. And so when they said that, I remember at the time, I remember people say, yeah, it's not the same way in English. It's like there's a bad translation. But now you found out about Luffy's fruit, you're wondering
Yes.
if it was intentional or not, especially with all the French inspiration in One Piece.
Yes. Oh God, yeah. They're like we even see now that I don't know if you read the latest SBS about Zoro. Like his
Yeah,
family may somehow be tied to some European descendants.
exactly.
So like the French inspiration or any European inspiration is very heavy in One Piece right now,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
those ties are being made very clear too.
Oh
Um,
yeah, it's like it's ridiculous. Like Law's flashback, Law and well, Dressrosa flashback with Law and Doflamingo. There was a
yeah.
lot of French theme, especially the way that Doflamingo's father and his family was put into the stake literally, and the
Wow.
way they were
Yeah.
trying to talk and they were blinded by the shouts. That's what happened to Louis the 16th in France. Like I learned fables because I'm a French community, fables from my
Nice.
12 to 16, and French history since I was like 10 years old to 18. So
Yeah.
so
So
it's
you
a
you
lot of
know this
stuff.
stuff, and you
Yeah,
see
yeah, a
these
lot of
little ties very easily.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
very good. So so like yeah, the law around the Doflamingo time, he was also talking about that's where we got the idea that the government is starting to work towards some type of gigantification, right? Like
Yeah.
all of these weird
hmm
scientific uh experiments on real human subjects, which is pretty sad. That's pretty sad. But it also shows the ruthlessness of the One Piece world, where like nobody cares about anything, which is also similar to our world, right? Like go back to France, 1650s, like when a revolution was starting. Like, holy yeah.
1700. It was the 1700s, 1786 or 89. It's like
Yeah.
it's not the same year as the Americans. It's like 3 years off or 3 years after.
So here's a question: do you find that the villains in One Piece are modeled or have similar archetypes to real life, not villains, but just, you know, not the victors of war in our real world?
Figures.
Yeah,
People from the
figures.
past,
Yes.
figures. So I think yes and no. So yes, I do think that because Oda does two things. First, he has I think it's the whole body, mind, and spirit. He gets inspired by that way, which I think is also themes, which is important in One Piece, which I would say that one of the things is Oda loves to first think of the theme of that character, and then from there he finds interesting stuff that connects all together. The best example is the whole thing about Luffy's fruit, in which some people were talking about the Sun Wukong, some of them are called about Hanuman, which they were inspiration from Hanuman.
Yes.
But then you see on other stuff where they talk about characters like, I think for me, Oda spent like 10, 15 years on a lot of, he knew the ending, so on a lot of core characters, and found all the possible inspiration to basically intertwine one big story.
Yeah.
So it's a yes and no for me.
Yes, I understand what you're getting at. Like, not everything is done on purpose, but the things that are done on purpose are very, very clearly going to be utilized in the future. And by future, where we are right now in the story.
Exactly.
Have you read the recent chapter 1079?
Yep.
Oh,
up to date.
How do you feel about what's going on with Kid? Kid dying. Well, dying. We don't know if he's dead, but I'm going to assume he's dead.
Well, he got the Sabaody treatment with the Straw Hat with the Oda box saying they were defeated, so...
so that means like game over, because it's hard to tell. He also did say that about the Straw Hats.
Yeah, but if you think about it, my whole thing is I think prior to the Straw Hat, just before that, they had made Rayleigh and they had gotten some information, and then there was a whole, after that Impel Down plus Marineford, and I'm sure that during the time skip, a lot of things like Force. So for me, considering Hockey had to come into play, I don't think the Kid will get like the whole time skip thing, but I think we'll have a certain moment where it's more like, how the Hockey is a lot, like there's a physical and spiritual aspect.
Yes.
But there's also like the mental aspect in which Kaido, I tell people, Kaido didn't talk about body and spirit. He talked about body and mind, in which we know Hockey is all about the spirit. They keep talking about spirits for Hockey. So I do think that Kid, what was missing for Kid is like, I tell people like, he had good Hockey. Yes, he was able to deal with Big Mom. But I think in terms of like the depth, like the purpose, like, like Whitebeard, wants to protect his family, but that's not what's powerful. It's the intensity, the emotions he has it behind it. And I do feel like for Kid, it's badly targeted. Like he's focusing on the wrong things. Like he's focused on the right thing, but not for the wrong reasons. But the way he thinks about it, the intensity of it is just not strong enough.
Yeah, so like his intention behind like how he's using this new ability is not fully like utilized. Like there's still more steps to go, but Kid is like blinded thinking he's already there.
Yeah, it's like for me it's like Luffy fighting Kaido. There would be two versions of Luffy. The one who had never gone through anything Wano, he would just go straight to Kaido, and let's say he had the level.
Oh, yeah.
It's exactly the same thing. It's not the same thing as Luffy who went through everything in Wano. It wasn't about all the training, stuff like that. It's to also understand, because that's all about Hockey. Your will. You want to fight for those people, your desire to help them. So that's the whole thing about it. That's how I see Kid. Like, it's just missing something. And I think for me, he hasn't told his dream, but I think he's expecting something to become Pirate King for achieving a certain thing, in which he's going to realize that he's been aiming for too small, so he's gonna aim for that, but even bigger.
Oh yeah, wow! Like his dream, his will to become Pirate King is not big enough yet. Like it's still just a little seed. It hasn't become a full tree.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting. And that could be why his journey was ended, is because it's not fully developed.
For me, I don't think it's ended. I think it's like diverted for a little while, because I always state to people that part of the inspiration for Roger comes from the real kid pirate. It's the real kid pirate who left a treasure with a message, and people went to look for it. So I do feel like
Whoa, like our
Oda
real
switching up
world
to
kid.
Poneglyph, now with switching Poneglyph with kid, it seems like an added thing. I think it always was a big plot point for kids. So I do think that for some reason Oda wants to humble him, and also shows that it's not an easy task to become Pirate King.
Similarly
So
to what Kuma did with the Straw Hats at Sabaody, like you're not ready to continue this journey, smack away. That's kind of what Shanks did to Kid.
Yeah.
Like you're not ready
Exactly.
yet. Go back and try again.
Yeah,
But
because for me,
see, my issue with that is that it's already happened. Kid already tried once against Shanks, and Shanks held back by only taking his arm. Not Shanks, I mean Red Hair. Like the Red Hair pirates already held back on Kid by only taking his arm. Then Kid came back a second time. Why is he still holding back? Like, just take him out.
but this is my thing. I've always wondered this, and this is why I will say to the other side. Think of who's who.
Okay.
When did they execute who's who? What did they execute Shiryu? There's a thing in the One Piece world where Oda, I say I wouldn't even be shocked that there's a big plot twist around that. I'm working on a theory, so I don't want to script leak too much.
Yes,
which I'm working on this outcome, but there's something about death in One Piece where I tell people Whitebeard died not because half his brain was gone, because he accepted his death. He finished talking, and then it was over for him. And you see people like Pedro who just dies from an explosion, but he wanted to die. And then you have all those, other components. So that's why, for me,
that's very interesting.
Yeah, so for me, I do feel like for some reason, and the fact that the world government themselves don't do it, and if you think about it, who are the ones that they want to kill? Roger,
like
Clover,
the people who are standing out.
Nolan, only about it knowledge.
Yes.
Only about knowledge. But then, all of them without knowledge, and you think of Kaido. It's like Kaido, it's like for Kaido, it was useless just to kill the people. Except the people from Wano who didn't want to follow in line.
Yes.
All the scabbards were the only one and Momo he really had the real intent to crush them forever, because I guess people he knew that he would never get on his side.
Yeah.
It really feels like, and think of Impel Down. I always said it looks like it was made to break someone's will. It's literally made to break someone's will.
And you're saying like that I don't want to like may force you to talk about your script.
No. I know what I can say. Don't worry.
So like the will to keep living is an actual force that keeps you alive, and once you no longer have that will, you actually die, whether you're ready to or not.
There's something to it, but I think that's why I'm waiting until the end of Egghead to go, or at least the next few chapters to have a bit more, because I do feel like some of the plot might come back to that, because I do feel like that the big event will clarify a lot of stuff that I'm thinking about. But
yeah, hopefully.
I think there's something weird about in that nature in One Piece. It's just weird.
Yeah.
And so I do feel like one of the thing is, and it has been explained, and this is just my headcanon, is on both sides there's certain reasons why they don't get rid of people. Like it's so big of a hassle. Like it's back to zero to it's like you were talking about the giant thing, which I want to jump in at the beginning, but then I forgot.
It's okay.
If you think about everything about they're doing with clones, everything, it doesn't, and with what Vegapunk is doing, it doesn't seem like they're trying to create new life. It looks like they're trying to create something from the past every time.
Yes,
specific
very true.
Group of clones. Queen hasn't seen Judge for over 30 years, but had the same tech, or at least abilities, as all the siblings, meaning that for 30 years Judge was focused on those abilities. You have always that comes back different. If you think of Vegapunk has Blackbeard talks about the serpent being a bit bigger. It takes up the aspect of clones of Judge, and then you have the whole aspect of Devil Fruit that he and Caesar were doing, like
wow, crazy.
So it's like
from the drop of a blood from whatever Senior Pink, they got the S Shark to be able to have that Devil Fruit ability. And you're saying all of this could be tied to the ancient kingdom / like what the government doesn't want you to know.
Oh, for sure. I think that there's a reason why Vegapunk, when he started talking about Devil Fruit, he starts saying, "Oh, I should shut my mouth." Yes. Like I do feel like there is. I don't think I'm not that conceited to think that it all comes from there, like one place. I think more like there is an important information that we should get for the Void Century that will shine a light on a lot of stuff. In a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Okay. I understand what you're saying. Like maybe a few pieces of information from the
Yeah,
Void Century will clarify a lot of things for us.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with you 100% on that. I don't think we're gonna get a whole exposition as to what happened in the Void Century. Blah blah blah. We may get little information, similarly to how we got information about Devil Fruits. Like it's just
Hmm.
exposition amongst characters. Um, I don't think we're gonna be getting a whole like flashback and stuff like that. I don't know how you feel.
Okay, so I have a thing, and I can even tease. It's one of my future theories. But let's just say that I think there's a reason why history keeps repeating itself, and they keep having parallels with different arcs. I think the Void Century will be basically the original story, not the what ifs, not the other point of views, the point of view, like this situation. Because I do feel like for
Oh.
some reason, Oda keeps hinting about how amazing will be the Void Century, and
Yes.
every time you think about it, there are so many stuff that keep repeating themselves, or certain ability, or certain wills, or there's always like reversal of certain characters. And I've always said this: if you think just about I've said long time ago that Dragon and Akainu are connected. That's how I made a theory. I talked with some friends. It was before I was a content creator, where I said, I think it's like 5 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
that Dragon came to Ohara, and that's where he found the Revolution Army. So the Goa
Yes.
Kingdom panel in which he makes a speech, and he's there with Revolution Army, which is the first time in the
Yep.
timeline.
Yep.
So at that moment I said, I'm sure that that's how he came with this idea of the Revolution Army. And one of my parallels is that Dragon is Luffy's father. He gave life to Luffy. Akainu killed Ace. There is some stuff that keeps like there's some interesting reversal, and I do think that the Void Century is like in order to love,
Oh,
yeah,
yes. We are kind of
and
seeing all the possibilities play out at the same time, and the Void Century would be the one possibility, like the one correct
yeah,
possibility.
yeah.
Wow.
So I think
Interesting.
there's a reason. So that's why I don't even know what it is. That's why, and I tell people to keep watch for the last arc, because I'm going to drop a theory about it. And I
Yes.
needed one thing in Egghead, and I got it. I needed some proof that Einstein had a connection in the story, and we had it with Vegapunk's appearance,
Yes, the
because the
apple
definition
and
of
yes.
Einstein of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome.
Yes,
That's literally
yes,
the One Piece world.
true.
And I said that
Whoa.
you're gonna have some of the guys on my team later on, like Desnes and
And
well,
Straw Hat Lucas.
yeah, yeah. So as Lucas, but you're
Yes.
gonna hear. I think for Desnes, I think I told him as well. We had discussion that prior to that, in which I told him, yeah, I just needed Einstein to
Yes.
just be in some shape or form in the story. And right now we have a Vegapunk, so I
Yeah,
do
very,
think
very
that,
clear representation of Einstein.
yeah.
Like
So
apple
that's why
on
I
the
think
head, big
yeah,
crazy hair lab coat, like very, very Einstein inspired. I can literally pull up the picture if you'd like, where it's like Einstein with his tongue out, like
exactly,
yes,
exactly.
very, very, very Einstein.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
So
be
that's
surprised if the whole race that Vegapunk
mhm.
is just based to make sure that Vegapunk can have his tongue sticking out all the time. That whole entire race was created for Vegapunk's character.
Oh
What's
yeah,
his
for sure, for sure,
Peru
for sure.
Peru or whatever from like Big Mom's, the arrow sugar fruit guy. Like
Yeah,
he's that same
for
race as
sure.
well.
But
Maybe.
this is what I'm gonna say. I do feel like, is it race? Because you know how we see with wills. I'm wondering if some people just come with a certain will, and because there was one person that was fit with a weird quirk, but he was just a hockey user, was Virgo. He always had this thing with food stuck on his mouth. Like it's
Oh
a very specific quirk that is very Food like. So
yes.
I'm wondering if it's not more like the intensity of that person's will, you know, more than
Oh
you're closer to that,
yes.
like Avatar Aang, the stronger he becomes and connect to his different,
Yes.
the
Yes.
different thing. And then when he goes to Avatar mode is when everything is united,
Yes.
and basically takes appearance to the original spirit that gave him those powers.
Yeah. So
So I'm
like
wondering if
if
sometimes some of those quirks is because you're very compatible with your will, not just
oh,
Delphi, your will in general.
so here's a question then. Let's say that there was a character that was like super compatible with the will of the flame fruit, for example, right? Not
Yeah,
Ace, not Sabo, not any character we've met, just an imaginary character. And then that character had a very strong will as well and like a fiery passion for whatever it was.
hmm,
Could that person's will manifest into some form of fire ability? without the use of a devil fruit. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but you know how there's certain characters that have abilities in One Piece, but although they don't have a devil fruit,
Mm-hmm.
are those abilities tied to their will, or no? Those are just separate, like completely not attached.
Oof.
Because you got
I
me
actually
thinking by
just
saying that.
It's just I literally an hour ago finished a script which I'm supposed to drop end of this week. That talks exactly about that. All I can say is this, so I can tease it, and
Yes,
everybody can
yes.
check it out without, so they can hear it in further. I've been obsessed for the last 6 months on hypnosis in One Piece, and I scattered everything until I understood, because I've might have I no not might have I think there was more than one inspiration, but I found one movie slash book from the 60s, 70s
Okay.
that Oda got inspired for it. There's a lot of interesting thing, and
Western
all
book
I'm
or Japanese book? Like what kind of what
it's
culture?
a British.
British.
All I can
Okay.
say is, if for those who are fans of Corazon, I can explain why Oda chose that appearance in that video. It's
Whoa.
Yeah, and why his fruit was important is because you're gonna see what you mean. There's importance why he had the calm fruit. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, because
And
he
he
had the
makes like
ability to make like a dome where no sound or anything could get
yeah,
through or whatever.
yeah.
Whoa.
But without any script leaking too much, all I can say about this is I think that, and it was seen with Lucia,
Yeah.
and I tell people the way that Imu or Im as you
Yeah,
prefer
yeah, whatever it is.
looked at Sabo, no than Mushi, and it felt like she could see him.
You're
I'm just saying this.
right.
It looked like she could see, and there was the sound of grrr,
Yeah.
like it sensed something. And all I'm gonna say this is NL did explain that in a specific territory he's able to hear people because
Yes.
mantra
Yes.
plus is no fruit. So I
Yes.
do think that it's something that can. I think that was a breadcrumb.
Yeah,
But
like the
yeah,
title of God maybe
yeah.
like maybe allow you to hear all, what do they call it in Skypiea? Like it's not the voice of all things, but it's very similar where you can hear all the voices or feel all of the spirits in your
Voice of all
domain.
creation, maybe. I don't know. I forgot the name.
I forget as well. My girlfriend just finished Skypiea, so I don't really remember. But then we like maybe it's that yeah, you can feel the presence of spirits or energy within your domain, and then you had Anel, whose his domain was Skypiea, and then you have Im Sama or Im, whatever you want to call them, where their domain is the entire world, and like that would be
Yeah,
crazy if you're right. They can just communicate through a Denden Mushi, but not into a Denden Mushi. That would be really
yeah.
cool.
I think it's not even they want to communicate. I don't think the word is want, and it's this why I'm gonna say in this fear in my fear is gonna I'm gonna explain it a bit more, which is interesting because this video of hypnosis is basically the video is to basically tease on another video where I go in depth on the stuff that I would love to talk about right now, but I can't.
Yeah, no.
But
Hopefully, when your video drops, you can come
yeah,
back and we can
you
keep
understand.
going. But
You
yeah, like
understand why?
yeah,
Yeah, you understand.
I watch everybody in this fucking scene because I do a lot of dishes and laundry. I live alone, so I got a lot of chores to do, and I just watch One Piece videos. That's what I have been inspired by to create this podcast. As just a way for me and you to just shoot the shit over our favorite show. Um,
Exactly.
so I have two big questions. Two big
Let's
questions.
go.
I'll leave the last one for later. But what got you to say that I'm a One Piece fan? Like I love this show now. What was the moment that made you go Straw Hat for life?
It's quite easy. I remember the episode, but I don't remember the manga, the chapter.
No problem.
But the episode was 314 when they revealed Luffy's heritage, and we knew who Dragon was, who the Garp was,
Okay,
and there
yeah.
was just one statement that said, "What kind of hell of family is this?" And that's
Yes.
when I knew that there'll be more to that. So I said, "You know what? I'm gonna follow through."
Wow. So you got into it because of the exposition kind of filled in a gap for you, and you went, okay, I'm excited now.
I firstly got into it because, well, the first character ever I saw once on television, just saw Dragon. The other episode Lockdown when he just appears. I think it's episode 53.
Yeah, right
And
behind
so then I started reading.
Smoker or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
and then there was no, it was the chapter just before when
Okay.
Luffy hadn't come yet to the
The
to
tower
the
thing.
scaffold.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, to the scaffold, and Dragon had just appeared, and he was doing his walk and talk about the wind of
Yes.
destiny have moved now finally,
So wait,
which I found it very interesting.
do you believe he
But
has the
Arlong
wind
Park
fruit?
is what got me into the story,
Me
and
too.
the dragon and his lobby thing, reveal Luffy's family, is what made One Piece #1 for me at that point.
Yeah, wow. So you're not the only person who said Ennie's Lobby. Right now it's not Ennie's Lobby, Arlong Park. A lot of people have said Arlong Park and Ennie's Lobby are the arcs that have made them get fully committed to One Piece. I wouldn't say mine was Arlong Park. I'm gonna be very, very honest with you. Arlong Park was a cool arc, but the coolest part was Luffy putting the hat and then the scene with all the Straw Hats like walking into Arlong Park. I understand the impact that it had and why it's loved so much. I think just for me at the time, I wasn't fully committed yet, so I wasn't attached to these characters or these moments yet. But Skypiea is when I went, holy smokes! Like,
exactly.
I did not expect a Skypiea. I didn't see it coming. I didn't think we'd go into the sky where there's a god, but a false god. Like that really changed how I viewed One Piece, and that One Piece can go anywhere and be anything.
No,
Yeah,
I'm gonna say this.
Yeah.
For the Arlong Park is, and I'll tell you why. It's not because he gave Nami his hat, and he had the walk, etc. Think about it. I would say that this is the first reversal of a character where we got Nami, we were suspicious, the typical shonen thing, the person betrays, but then you hear this entire thing, and not only that, the government, the Marines are in cahoots with the whole thing. Then you get the whole village knew about it, but hidden. Which also I tell people, this was the first time they put the concept of taboo in the One Piece world.
Oh.
They know about something, but they decide not to talk about it. Like, it is a breadcrumb. Like, Sir Village for me and Arlong Park are like, I'm talking about East Blue Arc islands. Those two islands have been exposition of so many stuff that I found in my theories. So many stuff.
Wow. Yeah. So a lot of the things you not things, a lot of the concrete facts you use to build your theories come from the earlier segments of One Piece. Sure. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Wait. Do you
fun
want
fact?
Yeah.
Fun fact. I want to see if you know that. You know what's the panel after Luffy ate the fruit in the first chapter? What's the first thing? The first time we see Luffy's face, where he is. First panel after.
So I think the panel is he's sitting off to the side, eats the fruit, and then he looks back at Shanks and the crew. Lucky Roo then goes, did you eat this fruit? And then Shanks is flipping him upside down, right? And they have a picture of it.
Yeah, like that's when they explain this on the same panel, but the next panel usually, or at least the next scene, is the next day. We see Luffy walking. We don't have clear on a zoom on his face. When there's the page where there's a zoom on his face, he's inside a fish market, which is written "uo uo," like the beginning of Kaido's fruit, with a smile on his face and saying, "I want to eat some fish." And Luffy got the reveal in front of Kaido who had the fish, which I don't tell he knew about Kaido, all of that, but I think he had this concept of him awakening in front of like a fish dragon power.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like, he ate the fruit. Next thing you see is the uo uo, so fish. Yeah. And then later on, 1,000 episodes later, he awakens the fruit in front of a fish. Whoa, that's a cool tie. That is a very, very, very cool
and you could
tie.
just check it out. It's like, honestly, I said panel. I mean, the scene after the next is exactly that. And when it zoom on his face, he's smiling. Literally, Joy Boy.
Like, okay, question. Is it the Nika smile? Because there is a very different smile between Luffy pre Gear 5 and then after Gear 5. Like, there's more of like a little like dimple-esque thing on his smile than before. So I don't know if his childlike one has that very Nika-inspired smile.
So for me, it's very easy. The fact that he has a sun god fruit, and I have a theory where ever since we got that reveal that as long as you believe in the sun god, there will always be a sun god, right?
Yes.
It's all about desire.
Yes.
So I always wondered, right? We have so many instances where, and I do like this idea that Nika was an afro, of this person dying smiling at a cross. We have Roger's execution where he was smiling as a cross. You have Yasui, who was basically
Yes.
laughing constantly, and everybody was believing in him, and he was adored, and there was a Sakura leaves like so many times. So I always wondered if what if the fruit, so the original Nika was basically like Jesus, because there was a lot
Yeah.
of biblical inspiration, died at the cross. And basically, Joy Boy, or that person, the first person who ate the fruit, is he inherited something that was so desired, the ability, desire, believe in sun god Nika, because he was called sun god. But this time, a fruit came in, so there were like, I think there are two. There's Nika, who people call sun god, and then there's the fruit of the sun god, and that's what people desire.
Oh,
And think
yes.
about it, it's very
Yes.
interesting.
Wow.
There's a lot of instances of sacrifices, and we all assume that it's Nika who just evolved his fruit, desired, and it became a fruit. But what if, when he died, people believed at him so much, and there's so many instances where you see, like, think of Whitebeard when he dies. They
Yeah.
showed his entire crew crying and calling his name.
Mm-hmm.
Every time they show like a big death, they show people reacting to it like it's
Yes.
important. What if at one point people desired so much and were so sad that he was gone that he would reappear,
Yeah.
and
The desire of the people
yeah,
manifested the Nika fruit, right?
and
And
Sabo
that's the way that the sun god Nika is always there if people want him to be, et cetera, right?
yeah.
That's
And Sabo's speech when he had the Fumera, he made a monologue saying that you'll always be with me, which I always wondered if it's Oda adding this information, in which maybe back in the day, the guy who ate the sun god fruit, he basically, and he says, you'll always be with me. He talks
Mhm.
about being united once for eight. You'll always be with me this time.
Yeah.
What if it's literally like maybe there's a scene, because I do love parallels, and I do think in One Piece he likes to take stuff that he's about to introduce and puts them in specific scenes in specific arcs. And I do
Oh,
feel like that scene was out of space, because if you think about it, we all knew that he wanted aces, but why would he
yep.
make the statement, "My friend, you will always be with me"? We know that that's what happens, which I think
Yes.
it's a long time ago. Somebody made that speech saying that now I have you, Nika. We'll be together, thus becoming,
Yes.
the sun god, the first
Yes.
user of the sun god fruit.
Oh, the first. So not Joy Boy, but the first user of the Nika fruit.
Because this is my thing. I don't even know. They told us he's a second person, so I assume it's Joy Boy. But
Oh,
I
to
also this
awaken the fruit in 800 years, not
yeah,
meaning like
yeah,
yeah, I see what you're saying. Like the user before may not have had the fruit, right? Or may have had the fruit and didn't awaken it, but
like
was
Joy
still
Boy
referred to as
could
Nika.
have had a descendant or somebody like a mentee who found the fruit, who inherited it, and he's the one who was 800 years and prepared some of the stuff. Like we know now that Joy Boy is more of a title than an
Yes.
actual person. That's why
Yeah.
Kaido said you're not Joy Boy neither.
Yeah,
So
and we know
that's the
that
thing.
through the poneglyphs because like the people of Wano wrote the poneglyphs and had the label Joy Boy for someone. And then after Luffy saved Wano from Kaido, they still refer to him as Joy Boy, but it's not the same Joy Boy, but it's just the
Exactly.
title Joy Boy. Exactly what you're
Yeah.
saying. Yeah, wow. I've loved talking to you. We have like maybe 5 to 10 more minutes, and I love
Sure.
to end it off on this last question. Please try to go in as much detail as you can because I love hearing it. What do you think the One Piece is?
It's very, very. No, it's actually interesting because I had a discussion today because I knew we were talking about it. So with a friend, we were talking over it, and because so I like to go back to to the naming, and what's interesting is One Piece is actually one pisu, which pisu usually means peace, but Japanese and with kanji it could have different meanings, but that's like the most interesting version. However, one has different meanings. You can find it in about the pale skin, like one also means one, obviously, but there's a meaning that's interesting, and it's an acronym which talks about it's a wide area network.
Wide area network. Okay.
Yeah. So my thing is this. So I would always like the idea that the One Piece is a treasure, because when you think about it, a treasure is something you're not. It's something you find something that is basically priceless. That's what the treasure is. And Oda said it was tangible. So when I thought of wide area network piece, and I thought, what if? And we know that the whole thing about One Piece is about desire and dreams,
Mm-hmm.
and Luffy's thing is for people to be able to be free to achieve their dreams. So what if, like, I think Luffy's version of it, but then this my whole thing is wide area network piece. So what if you need a specific? And so my whole thing is the One Piece isn't just. I think the people who come with Luffy, they all have specific dreams,
Mm-hmm.
and without those dreams, you cannot achieve the One Piece. which is basically a place where people can live. Will be Luffy's dream, where everybody could be free and live their dream. So that's why it's very difficult, because I think it's not just one answer. I think the people who will be with Luffy, more than his crew, are important keys. They're like the keys, specific wills. And I would even say that I do like the scene where Luffy says to Sanji and Whole Cake, "I can't go get the One Piece without you."
Yes.
That's when I started thinking about it. Like, what if back in the day with Joy Boy, they were missing one piece? That's why Oda named it.
Oh, like,
They were missing one piece
oh
of
my God.
And we know that there were betrayals in the past. And I do think that there might have been someone, and this time Luffy will come with that person. And yeah.
It could be Nami, it could be Robin, it could be Frankie. Somebody
But
is
I
important.
think it's going to be Germa oriented. The fact that Germa would connect to the world government, and Sanji was the one who told him that. I wouldn't be shocked that whoever, if there was a representation of Sanji's will, a proxy back in the day, he could have basically take the world government side instead of Joy Boy's side.
Oh, yeah.
And they were not united.
So you're essentially saying that there's a possibility that one of the members of Joy Boy's crew defected from his crew and kind of went against him, or just didn't cooperate with them to get to the One Piece, or
my whole thing is I think they were all one together, and then it separated into like different waves, or at least in that person that was supposed to be instrumental for the One Piece, he basically did not follow them. So I would not even say that he left Joy Boy's crew. I think more like the fact that, because my whole thing is with the Bing Sake song, it means that something happened. They started singing when something was happening, and said we have now to leave our home. Yeah. So I think that the whole thing about becoming pirates or the sailing, stuff like that, is most likely when things start going haywire.
Yeah. Wow. So the One Piece thus far for you is not 100% clear, but it is more like a missing One Piece.
So basically and before they were missing one, it's a gathering of specific dreams, and I would say that what's called Nami's dream, Robin's dream, Luffy's dream, and Sanji's dream, all blue, Void Century, and a map of the world. You need a map of the world is most likely for sure. Obviously, Chopper. There's like dreams like that, and I think there was just one dream they were missing back.
Yes, I understand. Like save everybody, make a map of the world, discover history, create things, and then there's just something missing, and that's what Nika didn't have. Somebody with the dream that is missing, and
yeah, exactly.
This time
and to end this with this, and why do I say it's very important that it's about the end, about Luffy's dream, is because when Zoro heard Luffy's dream, it is the first time that he didn't seem to act correctly. And I've always said something that I realized about Zoro. He's all about training and fighting, and having a challenge. I think whatever Luffy's, that's why I stated that way, is because there's the only way where it would make sense why Zoro would be warrior of it. Because what if it's a world of peace where people can achieve their dreams, with being free, whatever, they don't have to fight for it anymore. It's it's so peaceful. It is literally what Mihawk would say, or Zoro would say as at the place of Mihawk, a boring life.
Wow.
He didn't look happy. He was like shocked when he said that. Like it's not something that he's expecting.
Yeah, from Luffy, his captain, his friend.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, that is great. I love you, bro. I didn't catch your real name. I'm like Kube. Is that fine, or Red Sea?
Yeah, Kube.
Kube, man. Yeah. I really appreciate you coming on. I love this conversation. Man. Hopefully we can do it again in the future, in the near future.
Sure. No worries. Yeah,
just close off. Send out your socials once again. Give a little 2-second. Hey, what do you do?
Sure. Okay. So I'm Kube of the Red Sea, but you could find me on the YouTube group, The Last Arc. So that's where we drop videos. I drop through The Last Arc. Well, my on another page, but I can link it to you guys. It's on there as well. It's called the God Valley. I found the exact location of God Valley. We also have there the end of Cypherpole, which we talk about how Cypherpole is coming soon to an end. And this week, most likely the end of this week, Thursday or Friday, I'm dropping my video on the hypnosis. So check out some of the work on The Last Arc.
Well, I really appreciate it, man. Thank you very, very, very much.
No, thank you.
You have yourself a great day. I'm still going to be live. We're going to go back to the chapter discussion right now. Thank you very much, man.
See you, man.